Usually, I don't attend a lot of car launches and media events because they always occur during the week when I'm busy working. But when BMW South Africa calls, you answer because it means you're doing something right. Plus, it kind of didn't hurt that my G80 M3 competition review is one of the most watched M3 reviews in South Africa. And all of this was achieved before the channel's first birthday, thanks to all of you. I've been wanting to work with them since day one, which is something you'll know if you've ever watched those first road trip videos that kicked off the channel last year. So when I was invited to a full-day safety course, I wasted no time and made my way to X-Drive Park. Now, this video is not sponsored by BMW, and how do you know that it's not sponsored? Well, for starters, I arrived in an electric Alfa Romeo to ruin everybody's videos and pictures.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Okay, cat's out the bag. The real reason is that I had to charge the vehicle. And as you may already know, EVs spend just as much time charging as they do actual driving. You will charge until you bleed through your ears. Moving swiftly along, the chosen flavor of the day for this course is the G20 320i. And this is LCI number 2 with the flat bottom steering wheel. And the first thought that came to me was that the 320i has been my daily driver for the last 4 years. So do I have home ground advantage because of that, or will that familiarity work against me? Well, let's all find out later together when we get to the fun driving bits. There were a few other makes and models that they brought to site, like the outgoing BMW X3 and the X530D, but these were not actively participating in the course. And by the way, the gentleman in green is my co-driver Sydney from Soweto Live magazine. That's a cool mini countryman. I must review one of those. The safety course is essentially a 3-part full-day course, and we'll be kicking things off with part 1 being an interactive classroom-style session where we take a deep dive into topics such as collision avoidance, defensive driving, vehicle control, and most importantly, hijack prevention. Hey Hayley, how are you doing? My biggest takeaway from this session with Devin is general awareness and being alert to your surroundings at all times when operating a motor vehicle. These are topics and concepts that we're all familiar with, but over time, human nature tends to take over and we get into bad driving habits, especially if you've been driving for a very long time. I mean, how many times have you been on the freeway and when you look over to your right, the driver next to you is texting on their phone at 120 kilometers per hour? Completely unaware of any potential hazards or dangers. Other noteworthy statistics that we canvassed on the day was that the majority of hijackings occur in residential driveways in the morning as you leave for work and in the evenings at around 6 p.m. when you're coming back from work. So it means they're not random. These are people that would have been following your routine for at least 3 days before striking. So staying alert at all times and subconsciously asking yourself how long the vehicle behind you has been following you will go a long way in mitigating those odds. And again, if you do suspect that you're being followed, don't go to your house. Drive past it and circle the block a couple of times or go to the police station. Eventually, the perpetrators will notice that you're onto them and they'll move on to their next target because they want to catch you by surprise essentially so that you don't damage the car. They just want a clean, undamaged car that they can quickly sell off without any hassles. Food for thought, hey? We cannot control what society does, but we can prepare ourselves for the realities in which we live. Now we're starting to get to the fun bits, but before we hoon around the skid pan, the second part of the course involves driving around town with the instructors to get a better understanding of your day-to-day driving habits. So you basically drive along a predetermined route as you typically would in your own vehicle without anybody instructing you anything. And then at the end, the instructor will give you improvement tips based on what they've observed to further weed out those bad habits we've accumulated over the years. And now, for the moment we've all been waiting for. The third and final portion of today is all about the skid pan, where the instructors will carefully guide us through various maneuvers in a controlled environment. And this is where I'll get to find out whether my familiarity to the 320i will be to my favor or detriment.
Alright, if I can just ask if you can all hear me, please could you just put your hazards on?
Hazards on.
Perfect, thank you. You guys can turn them off.
And off we go to the skid pan. For context, the registration number of the vehicle we're driving in ends in YSGP, and you'll find out in a minute why that detail is important. Upon arrival, we kick things off with a bit of a warm-up exercise where we had to weave in between the cones through the slalom while maintaining the 9 and 3 position on the steering wheel.
Yeah, see some gangster steering positions. I want your hands in the 9 and 3 position, and we're going to make our way through the slalom. You're going to follow us through. It's going to be one long snake weaving our way through. The first time you push on the left-hand side, and then nice smooth steering input all the way through. Nice constant throttle, looking ahead and planning the rotation of the vehicle.
Notice how my hand movement is all over the place initially, and that's because I was turning too far away from the cones, which required more steering input. But as I got more comfortable with the location of the cones relative to where the car is, I could then turn much closer to the cones, which required less steering input, and therefore not breaking my 9 and 3 position.
YM is looking good there, I'm happy. Guys, I'm happy here on YS as well. YW average.
YSGP for the win. Now it is time to up the ante a little bit, because in our first maneuver of the day, we must accelerate up to 30 kilometers per hour and then stand on the brakes as hard as humanly possible when we get to the cones. Easy peasy, right?
We're at car number 4. I'll tell you when to brake, so listen to the radio. Let's go, 30 km an hour. Go, go, go. I'll tell you when to get on those brakes. Go, 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 brake. Spot on! Perfect, that's what we want to see. Nicely done.
For maneuver 2, we must basically repeat the same procedure, but at 60 kilometers per hour. And this is where things start to get interesting, because the speed is only double, but the stopping distance is 4 times as long. So a slight increase in speed increases everything else exponentially. And that's physics for you.
Perfect, next car down. Let's go for it, 60 km an hour. Out of 10. That's 2 in a row. Very well done there.
At speeds above 50 kilometers per hour, the hazard lights automatically activate under hard braking on the G20. If they don't, then you didn't push hard enough. The next maneuver is where I should have probably called my medical aid and said, "Hey bro, I might need you today. Save a bed for me at Netcare." And this is what I imagined they'd say back to me.
Yeah, sure. Use your head, my friend.
Because for maneuver 3, we must accelerate up to 60 kilometers per hour, and when we get to the cones, apply full brakes while simultaneously letting go of the steering wheel. This is done to prove that the vehicle's braking systems are working as intended. So ABS, EBD, KFC, JMPD, GNU, and every acronym under the sun should all work together to ensure that braking force is distributed to each wheel based on various factors such as the condition of the road and the vehicle itself. Sounds like the GNU to me. Except that it actually works. So theoretically, the vehicle should stop dead straight even in the event of a tire puncture.
Car number 4. 60 km an hour, hands up. Not too bad, well done. We just get off the brake.
Well done, Bra Sydney, for the effort. My favorite maneuver was number 4, which was an emergency braking and collision avoidance procedure where we had to accelerate as hard as possible and then apply full brakes while simultaneously steering to the left or the right when we got to the cones, depending on which side of the skid pan you're on. This is designed to test the anti-lock braking system, or ABS for short. For context, a car without ABS would simply lock its front wheels under hard braking and ignore your steering inputs. So it would keep going straight, despite you physically turning the steering wheel.
It was a gentle turn through at the braking. nicely done, sir. Car number 2, let's go for it. If you just left it a little bit later, you would have been through beautifully.
At this point, I think the 320s were tired because we've been hammering them the whole day. That was a full send, but it didn't feel as strong as my previous runs. Plus, it was a very hot day outside, so the turbos were definitely working overtime. And if these cars could express emotion, in my head, this is what they would say.
Oh,
But the engineering is undeniable, and to be able to do this day after day, course after course, is truly remarkable. Now, to answer the question I opened this video with, I can confidently confirm that I had a home ground advantage doing these maneuvers in the 320i. I was Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, with my fans chanting, "Champions of Europe, you'll never sing that," against a team I shall not mention. I did have 1 or 2 runs that didn't go as planned, but overall, I'll give myself a solid 8 out of 10. The day ended with an awards ceremony, of course, and the nice thing about these certificates is that you can submit them to your insurance company for a lower premium. There were a few other activities in between which I didn't get to film, but I think that talking about it and experiencing it are day and night. This course is truly life-changing from a safety perspective, and I would encourage anyone who can afford to attend to do so. Apart from this safety course, they do have other high-intensity advanced driving courses such as M Drift, M Intensive, and M Advanced, where you'd get to do fun stuff like figure-8 drifting with M cars. And best believe I'm going to those ones as well. So, see you there. Actually, let me rephrase that. You will not see me, but I will definitely see you. So, does this mean that we'll be getting test cars from BMW South Africa going forward? Well, it's not an exact guarantee, but it does signal the start of a long-term relationship. But do let me know in the comments what cars you'd want me to review from them if and when I start getting cars. Thank you for watching. Until next time, take care.